G'day guys, how you going? I hope you're well, as usual. And welcome to another video on My Blue Heaven and the second part of this, I suppose, little series that I'm doing in regards to celebrating or commiserating 30 years since our last Premiership in 1995. I'm absolutely wrapped with the feedback I got from the last video and the amount of views and the amount of people that watch that video. There's always, when you put something together like that, something which is a little bit historical, doesn't really have a great representation of what's happening right here, right now, that, you sort of think, are people going to be interested in this? And the video did particularly well. And as usual, your feedback was superb. And I thank you for that. So this is part two. I don't think I'll do another one. I don't want to beat a dead horse in that regards, but the first video, if you haven't seen it, looked at the top 10 players that we have drafted to our football club since 1995, our last Premiership. And this one is going to be the top 10 players that have been traded to our football club, obviously from other clubs since our last Premiership in 1995. And once again, I'm going to put a cap on, a little bit of a retro cap. 2013 was the cap I wore in the last video. And I found an older cap. This one is 2010. It's got the little clip on it at the back. So I'm going to pop that one on just to do this. And as usual, please, this is just my opinion, this top 10. I must admit, this one took me a little bit more time to compile a top 10. It wasn't as straightforward. I think the first 5 players, without giving anything away right here, right now, pretty much picked themselves with this top 10. It was the next 5 from 6 to 10 that I had a lot of problems with. And you could probably throw a blanket over maybe 15 or so players that could potentially fit in from 6 to 10. There was no real criteria with this. Obviously, the players that you traded to your football club need to have had a significant impact, played good footy. I did look a little bit at the value as well, whether they were a bargain pickup and just gave you great service compared to, say, someone where you gave up a high draft pick and they, didn't necessarily meet the level that was required of that draft pick. I took that into consideration, but at the end of the day, this is just the 10 best traded players that have come to our football club, from my point of view, since 1995. And I must admit, I've really enjoyed doing this. I love this side of football. I love the research. I love going back and having a look. What does it all mean? Not a lot, but I am interested, fact checking. I just got a real passion for it. And sometimes I feel like I wish I could sort of work in this area. If there was a job in this area, I'd love to work, in the AFL, at a football club. I don't know, looking at the history of the game, or even in recruiting or something where you are doing a lot of sort of research stuff on players and families and interviews and all that type of stuff. Look, I'll fill you in on a little bit of information before I get started. Why am I sharing this with you? I'm happy to share with it. It's a bit of a fail on my behalf. I've been working in education for the best part of 30 years and relatively happy in that area. I also, for 16 years, I worked part-time for K-Rock Radio, which is a radio station in Geelong, and we covered AFL games, which I was a part of for 16 years. And that finished, for me, during COVID, when the station decided to cut back from 3 games a weekend to just covering Geelong games, which is disappointing because I loved doing that, and I worked with so many wonderful people at that radio station. It's something I really enjoyed. It was just best part of, I don't know, the best part of my life in regards to being involved in football outside of playing. But just before Christmas, I saw a job advertised on Seek, and I don't generally check Seek. As I said, I'm happy what I'm doing, but a job popped up. Western Bulldogs were looking for a recruiting officer, and I'd done a little bit of research in regards to what that looked like, and apparently they were restructuring a little bit. Their recruiting department, and they were looking for a recruiting officer. Now, I understand I don't have any formal background in that area. I've never worked in recruiting before, but given the nature of the job, the criteria I checked over, it was basically going to games, Coke Talent League games here in Victoria, VFL games, school football games, APS, and tracking players. Now, yeah, I mean, how hard could that part of it be? Not quite sure. Maybe I'm a little bit gullible, but I do have a passion for that, and identifying talent. And the second part of the job was similar to what I'm doing now, a lot of sort of due diligence and doing a lot of research on players and families and interviews and all that type of stuff, which I am really passionate about. So I thought, yeah, why not? I'll have a crack. And I know it's the Western Bulldogs, but to get your foot in the door and just take a risk, I was really excited about it. Put a resume together over 2 days, got some fantastic referees, and I was pretty realistic that I wasn't going to get the job, but I was very excited, and when I pressed the button and the application went through, I was imagining what it would be like to do that job every weekend during the week, following players. It was just for me the dream job. But I understand it'd be very difficult as well. Very difficult. But I got. They made it very clear that that there was no guarantee that you get an interview and all that type of stuff. And when Seek sent me through a notification that my application had gone through, I did check that there were 330 applicants for the job. And I went, oh my God, 330 applicants for one job. And I just then thought, it's not going to happen. And as January progressed, I was still thinking about it, and I'd let people close to me, some close friends, know that that's what I would like to do, and I'd apply for the job at the Western Bulldogs, and people were saying, why the fuck would you want to apply for a job at the Western Bulldogs when you're a Carlton supporter? But anyway, I then got to a stage where I'm thinking, and the Bulldogs sort of said that they wouldn't have someone put in place until the start of March, and they would be holding interviews sort of late January. So I hadn't heard anything, and I just thought, I'm not going to hear anything. I'm just not going to hear anything, because 330 applicants, how many people can you get back to? How many people are going to interview? Maybe they've already got someone in mind, or all that sort of stuff. But then I started thinking, maybe they looked at my resume and just thought, let's do a back check on this bloke. Let's do a search on this Heath buck. So they Google me, and fucking up pops the fact that I'm a mad Carlton supporter, and up pops my YouTube channel, and my the video that's got the most traction over the last 7 years was me cracking fucking 13 eggs over my head. It just occurred to me how fucking stupid I was, and how naive and gullible to think that I'd have any chance, one, to work in an AFL environment, given how much of a cock I've been on this channel for 7 years. And I just felt a little bit idiotic, but, and I'm not disappointed at all, because I will continue to do what I do, and I'll continue to show a real interest in the Coach Talent League and the upcoming draft and all that type of stuff. I'll continue to do that. So there's no problem. And maybe it's a blessing in disguise that I can continue to do this, because I would have had to give all this away. But they did, to their credit, send me this. They did send me this letter, and I suppose it's a generic letter. I wonder if they sent it to all the 330 applicants, but they did say that, you know, hopefully in the future continue to apply for jobs at the Western Bulldogs. So I'll take them for their word. So there's just a little bit of news on, me just trying to dip my toes back into footy at the highest level in regards to an AFL football club. Anyway, let's get back onto this. So traded players to our club, not players that we've drafted out, but have come to our club. I'm just going to go through 1995 really quickly, that trade period after we won the grand final. This is what we've done. So we traded out Troy Bond, the small forward, to Adelaide for pick 63, and I'm pretty sure Troy Bond became a premiership player at the Adelaide Crows. We got in Adrian Hickmott from Geelong for pick 49. Pick 49 was used by Geelong to get Ronnie Burns. We got Justin Murphy in from Richmond, and we released Ben Harrison and draft selection 35, which the Tigers used on Brad Smith. This is a big one. I remember Craig Davenport. He was talented, but we got him from St Kilda and gave up pick 19 for Craig Davenport, and the Saints used pick 19 to pick up fucking Barry Hall. That's a disaster. And we gave away James Cook, the Tasmanian. Pretty talented full forward for Ben Sexton from the Western Bulldogs. And Ben Sexton only, I think he was the younger brother of Michael. Only ended up playing 3 games for us. So that was 1995. Anyway, these are honourable mentions. These are the players that didn't make my top 10. So I'm going to chuck Justin Murphy in there. Didn't make it. Now he was traded to our club twice. So we got him from Richmond, then he went to Geelong, then we got him back from Geelong, then he went to Essendon. So I give him an honourable mention because he played some pretty good football for us in his 2 stints at the Blues. 96, there's a Mick McGuire came to our football club. Mick McGuire, we remember that, don't we? Pulled his hamstring wearing the light blue M&M jumpers. I always remember that, mighty Mick. So special mentions, who else we got here? I'm going to mention Corey McKernan, came to our football club, was only here for 2 years, but won a best and fairest in his first year at our club. Brock McLean, I reckon he played for a couple of years there. Brock McLean was a gun for us. I remember in that 2013 elimination final against Richmond, before the game, when we were all at the ground, he was a late out. He was a late out, and that's Nick Duigan came in, and everyone's going, oh, fuck, we've lost Brock McLean, we're fucked. That's how good he was going in 2013. But we gave up pick 11 for Brock McLean, pick 11. But he played good footy. I'm chucking Nick Stevens in there as well. I know he wasn't officially a trade. We got him in the preseason draft, but at the end of the day, he was a trade. He played a lot of footy at Port Adelaide, over 100 games, and we were trying to get him in the trade period, and then they just wouldn't deal with us. So they said, you go through to the preseason draft. He gets an honourable mention. David Teague, one of best and fairest, came across from North Melbourne, gets an honourable mention. Who else have we got here, guys? You got to give Daisy Thomas an honourable mention. I know we gave up in regards to a 4-year contract, a lot of money. We lost Eddie Betts. But he did play the last part of his stint at Carlton. He did play some good footy and end up playing 100 games. Who do you reckon his kids were like? I'm not quite sure if Daisy's got boys and if they're any good. But who do you think they picked? They think they picked Carlton or Collingwood, given that he's now eligible with 100 games at both. They picked Collingwood. Andres Everett led our goal kicking for a couple of seasons, was reasonable as a pickup. Lachie Plowman, you got to throw in, I know he was maligned, Lachie Plowman, but gave us some really strong service for a period of time. Matthew Wright came across from Adelaide and was a small forward and was serviceable. I mean, Caleb Marchbank looked like he was just going to be a very, very good player for us, but injuries got him. Matt Kennedy, 99 games he was stuck on, Matt Kennedy. It feels cruel, doesn't it? I'm going to give him an honourable mention. And then just sort of like the current day players, like how good can Mitch McGovern get over the next couple of years? Can he really take his game to another level? Pitnet, yeah, I don't know whether he deserves an honourable mention, but yeah, same with Zach Williams. Georgie Hewitt didn't make the cut, either did Lewis Young, and Adam Cherry's still got a fair bit to prove. I reckon 2023, Elijah Hollands is an absolute star. I reckon if he remains fit, he's a star, that kid. So I reckon that's going to be a huge pickup for us. And the last player traded to our football club is Nick Haynes. So they're honourable mentions, guys. So let's go to our top 10. And as I said, the 6 to 10 was really difficult. And it came down pretty much to preference. It really did. You could throw a blanket across a lot of players or over a lot of players in this regard. So at number 10, I'm going right back to 1995 and Adrian Hickmott. Some of you mightn't remember Adrian Hickmott, but I certainly do. He'd actually played for Geelong against us on that grand final day and was one of their best players. And obviously on that day, he played on Ange Christou and had the better of him. That's how well he played for the Cats in that smashing in that grand final. And I think we remembered that. So we got him to the football club. He was 24 when he came across, originally from Horsham. We gave up pick 49. The Cats ended up getting pretty lucky with that pick. They got Ronnie Burns, which was a really good pickup for them. But from 1996 to 2003, Adrian Hickmott gave great service to our club, and he could play the game. He was like super courageous, ended up playing 134 games, kicked 107 goals, was vice-captain for a couple of years, was part of that pretty good period where we made the grand final in 1999. He led our Brownlow medal votes in 2001, and injuries got him in the end. The groin injury, he had a knee injury which kept him out for a year, but these groins got him in the end. But I thought he was a fine servant as that sort of medium hybrid-sized high half forward, super courageous in the air, hard as a duck's beak, but really highly skillful and a good accumulator who could kick a goal. So Adrian Hickmott, the redhead, the ginger nut, who's now paving his way as a really fine assistant coach at a number of clubs. He spent some time at Essendon West Coast, and I've seen some clips of him being the senior assistant at Hawthorn, and the players appear to love him, Adrian Hickmott. So, I just think he forged a really good career at Carlton in his time there. A lot of you are going to go, how the fuck you put this guy in? I got Lachie Henderson at number 9. 20 years of age. I reckon it's sort of like a bargain picker, really. Almost like the steak knives in the Brendan Favola trade to the Brisbane Lions. But we got him really young. He was a former top 10 draft pick. And although he probably wasn't top echelon in his time at Carlton, in fact, he probably never got to top elite echelon across his whole football career. He was a bloody good swingman for us from 2010 to 2015. And as I said, we got pick 12 and Lachie Henderson for Brendan Favola. The pick 12 was a disaster because we used that on Kane Lucas, but Henderson played some good footy for us. It took a little bit of time for him to get going, whether it was a forward or a defender, but I thought once he went as a key defender at full back, he began to shine. And the thing with Henderson that was really impressive was, like, he could switch. Like, he could be really effective as a defender. And I remember he kept Josh Kennedy, who was on fire at the West Coast Eagles and a former Carlton player, to no goals, which not many defenders were doing. And then, like, the following year, he went forward and was able to kick 6 goals in a big Friday night game against North Melbourne at Marvel Stadium. So he could do it at both ends. I understand he came, like, he's a couple of times he was in our top 5 in the best and fairest. I understand that, 102 games. He's now probably going to be a life member. His kids, if he has boys, are tied to our football club from a father-son perspective. I just hope someone like Lachie Henderson does feel a connection with our football club. Because I think that the way he left wasn't great. Our club wasn't great at the time. But, yeah, I think he could play the game, really play the game. At number 8, I'm going with one of my favourite players, and I'm still not pissed off, but disappointed it ended the way it did, is Liam Jones. 23 years of age, he came to our club from the Western Bulldogs. We gave up pick 46, which is like a pretty low draft pick, really, when you think about it. But the Dogs ended up picking Caleb Daniel, who then went on to play in a Premiership. I think that year that we picked Liam Jones up, or the next year anyway. But so they got sort of lucky, or some wise recruiting. But he's shown some signs at the Bulldogs as a forward, but an erratic forward, a poor kick, a little bit inconsistent, which often happens with young key position players. But he came to our club and just couldn't get going, under Mick Moldhouse and stuff, and was used as a forward, just like he was on the chopping block, and then bang, they just decided to play him at fullback in the VFL, and he just exploded as a key defender. 2015 to 2021, I only played the 95 games in that time at Carlton, but he was a really, really good defender. A little bit erratic at times with his ball use, but super courageous, really good teammate, great combination with Jacob Wiedering coming through. 5 consecutive top 10 finishes in the club's best and fairest between 2017 and 2021, and just unfortunate that he's ended our football club came at the time it did, because I think, given the nature of our defence at the moment, he probably would still be playing for us. I'm going for a current day player, and a bit of a shock at number 7, but from a value point of view, and I spoke about value before, this bloke has come into our club, and I wouldn't say that he's changed the way we've played, but he's certainly in a position of the ground I think that we've just struggled in 2 years. He's just made a huge impact. That is Blake Acres at number 7, 26 years of age, the journeyman, St Kilda, Fremantle, pretty much unwanted by the Dockers. They lowballed him. So we got him. He was squeezed out, really, for a future third rounder. And he's made a huge impact on our football club in big moments, huge moments. Goal kicker, strong as an ox, super courageous, hard runner, gets back to help out defensively. Only played 48 games, but in that time, 2023 he had 576 disposals, and 2024 he had 516 disposals and kicked the 23 goals. And we know the big goals he's kicked in big games. So I reckon it's a no-brainer. I really do. Maybe you could flip the order a little bit, but I'm comfortable with having Blake Acres in there at number 7. I got Adam Saad. Some will say, well, we did give up pick 8 for Adam Saad. Played 48 games for the Gold Coast Suns and then 61 for Essendon. It's a top 10 draft pick to give away for someone who's 26 years of age. But I think he's paid us back. I think the next step is to win the Premiership. But if you picked a youngster up with pick 8 and they've had an impact, which Adam Saad has had, you'd be bloody happy with it. And he's had a huge impact. In the 4 seasons, he's nearly clocked up 2,000 disposals, All-Australian in 2022, played the 86 games. He'll play 100 games for our football club, which will be significant for us. And the next step, obviously, is for him to be a Premiership player, to steer us in that direction. Really strong, can be a really strong lockdown defender. And is this a criticism potentially of our coaching? Have we used him in the best manner over the last 12 months or so? That is debatable, but what you can't debate is the fact that he's made a huge impact on this football club since he arrived 4 seasons ago. So Adam Saad at number 6. So the top 5, I'm going with Nic Newman. It's just like, you talk about bargain pickups. 2018, 4th rounder from Sydney. Took him a while to get going. Was a bit of a hothead. Made some mistakes. He only played the 31 games for the Swannies across 4 seasons after being recruited at a mature age from Frankston. He's now played 103 games. It's just devastating that he won't take any part this year. And maybe he will never. He won't play any more part in his career. Two patellar injuries, ruptured patellar injuries he's had in his time at Carlton. But you sort of forget those of how well he's been and what he's been able to do, and being one of the significant contributors in our defence in that time. As soon as he arrived at the club, he pretty much won a best clubman, which says a lot about a player. And then he's been runner-up best and fairest over the last couple of years in strong teams. Yeah, not the weaker teams, okay, 5 or 6 years ago. He's been runner-up best and fairest in really strong teams, or strongish teams over the last 2 years. And he's won the ball. 561 disposals in 2023 and 566 disposals last year. At number 4, I'm going with Skinny Lappin. Love the way this guy played. 22 years of age when he came to our football club from the Saints. Good footballer at St Kilda. We gave up, for Matty Lappin, we gave up pick 32, which the Saints used to get James Begley, and pick 53, which they used to get Troy Swartz. We got Lappin and pick 58. We used pick 58 to get Ian Prendergast in the draft. He played 55 games for St Kilda across 5 seasons. He played 196 for us and kicked 221 goals from 1999 to 2007. He was an All-Australian in 2004, leading goal kicker in 2001, could play both ends of the ground, whether it was as a medium-sized small forward. Took Mark of the Year in round 1 of 1999 in his first game for our football club against the Bombers at the MCG, and played in our 1999 losing grand final. He was a very, very good football, highly skillful and elusive Matty Skinny Lappin coming in at number 4. Number 3, could have flipped these between Skinny Lappin, but I'm going with Sam Docherty at number 3. 20 years of age. We got him really young. Carlton supporter. Went to Brisbane, spent 2 years there. Was a number 12 draft pick. So, yeah, highly rated when he went to the Brisbane Lions. Played 2 seasons there, only 13 games. But he wanted to come home in a period of time where Brisbane were losing young players, particularly Victorians, want to come back to Melbourne. We swooped on him, given the connection between him and the Carlton Football Club. And outside of the tragedies and the 3 knee reconstructions and the cancer, he's been a fucking... I don't like using, you forget how good he was, but he was just... Before the first knee, you know, he won the All-Australian 217, Best and Fairest 216, won 2 David Parker medals, best on the ground against Hawthorn, co-captain between 2019 and 2021. We know his courage. We know he's very skillful, high accumulator, can play multiple positions on the ground. Great pickup. Great pickup for our football club, and it'd be really interesting to see the role he plays for us in 2025. One of my favourites, all-time favourites, over a really, I suppose, a bleak, I know I use that word a lot, bleak period for our club. Heath, Scotland, going in at number 2. Got him from the Pies, where he put together 53 good games for Collingwood, played in their back-to-back losing grand finals against the Lions in... what was it? Was it 202 and 203? But they sort of like, I don't know why they didn't want to keep him. So he came to Carlton and, you know, we gained a super footballer, you know, like between 19, what was it? When did he come to us? In 2003 he came to us and played, what was it? How good am I going here, guys? 215 games. Heath, Scotland, best and fairest winner in 212. Forged out a really strong year across, 11 years. And he was one who was highly skillful. Very, very, very skillful was Heath Scotland. So he comes in at number 2. Interesting side note on Heath Scotland. He played in Carlton's last game ever, their last game at Princes Park in 2005 against Melbourne. We all remember that game. But he also played in Collingwood's last game at their spiritual home at Victoria Park in 1999. That's a great trivia question. Anyway, no denying the number 1 is Chris Judd. I know we gave a lot up, and I always said, the winner out of this trade will be the team that wins a grand final with that particular player. And it ended up being the West Coast Eagles in 2018 with Josh Kennedy, who was a super player. And to think that, I don't know if they ever really considered it, to think that Paul Bauer was the bloke that we offered up as part of that deal, but the Eagles said, no, fuck that. We don't want crazy horse Paul Bauer. We want Josh Kennedy. But it does hurt to lose a super key position player who ended up going on to be such a good full forward across many years for the West Coast Eagles. Pick 3, the Eagles got Chris Maston, who played in the Premiership, and they bombed out on pick 20 with Tony Noddy. We got Judd and pick 46, which we used to get Dennis Armfield. I didn't realise that we also got pick 52. I didn't realise that until I did my research. So we got Judd, 46 on Dennis Armfield, and pick 52, which we gave to Brisbane, who gave us Richard Hadley, who'd been a Premiership player at the Lions and came to us. He'd had knee injuries and stuff. He was okay for a year or two for us, but really, Judd, we know his record. We know he was an absolute freak at the Eagles and probably played his most dynamic football there, but he changed the way he played for us. He was more combative, but he still won a Brownlow for us. He still played more games for us, won 45 games, 90 goals, captain. As soon as he arrived at the club for 5 years, he was captain. Lee Matthews medal winner with us in 2011. He also won one of those with the West Coast Eagles, 4 times All-Australian at Carlton, a couple of All-Australians at the Eagles. But we're talking about his time at Carlton, not at the Eagles. And Brownlow medalist for us in 2010, and 3 times John Nichols medalist, which is the best and fairest. Anyway, that is 32 minutes. That's a long video, guys. Tell me what you think. Do you agree with my top 10? Change the format. Chuck in any other players. Did I miss anyone? Probably did. Who cares? Speak soon.